Well, we took a little break on the truck for a few days. I was able to take a milk jug, and what I did for this power head on this is I just took these right here and stuffed them down on the sides right here to the open sides. And it was tight, but then the tight side, I tightened this up, the casing a little tighter on one side. Now, she's free as a bird. It spins just as easy as you want to spin it. Trying to keep from getting my finger in there already. I got my thumb there the other day working on this motor. Now, this little case half, it's still got a good piece, but it's got a little tit that pops out. And I was thinking about changing this mouth out on the motor and using a different way of pulling it. It kind of runs counterclockwise, I think. I did have it fired up. I fired it up with the drill here, and it ran until it ran out of gas, so it needs a carburetor. I found one for like 10 bucks, so I'm going to try to jerry-rig us up a generator. You know, if you can't get out of here, that road right there, it gets so bad you can't even get to the gas station. There's only one gas station that's got a generator to pump out gas. Once that gas is gone, you're done. But I took that case half off, and my thinking is, it's got a little tit here. See, it turns just as beautiful. So easy. But it won't go in, it won't come out, I think, with it tightened up. But it's got a little keyway here, a little tit. I took the crank and cut it off of the motor. The motor, you can't get parts for it. Everything's discontinued. And what the deal is, I see a lot of people say it too, it's that little carburetor with the gas tank on it. Now, people complain and say, oh, whatever it is, you could probably 3D print a manifold and bolt a carburetor to it. This valve, it's in there, okay? Now, I was able to get the piston to go up and down, but these two valves, they're stuck in the head. You can't get a jug. Got to get a jug, and then you might be able to beat these out and reuse them, but you know, it's gummed up. Case is still good. You know, there's still some parts there. They didn't burn it up or nothing. But I took that case half off, and I cut the crank off enough, hopefully, to be able to grab a hold of something with a keyway in it or some way, or maybe we can get somebody to, or I can drill a hole through that enough to set a bolt in it to where you can put a pulley, you can put a cog, whatever. We figure out which way you got to turn that thing to put power out. That socket's stuck on there, but it's got a way to put something on it too. I do still have a pulley. I took that pulley off, but you can still get it back down on there. Just because it's ugly don't mean nothing. I used to do power steering pumps like that on a big truck, beat them off to get it out, and then we'd take a piece of wood, straighten the pulley back up, and a guy got another 10,000 miles on it. You know, but it eat a belt off, and they was able to get another pulley. They had to order one, so I have done it in the past. Now, that is ugly. Ain't nothing a grinder couldn't fix, and that ain't saying it won't go back on there, if need be. It's got two different sizes. You know, I think a smaller ones it makes it speed it up, and a bigger one slows it down. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But what I do know is if you can get this motor to start, and you can hook something to that to where it'll spin it, and it spins it fast enough, it'll put power out. Now, rough, cobbled looking, you might be able to mount that motor up here on a plate with 4 bolts. You can get that motor to start. You mount that generator head down there some way, it'll run. It's got its own gas tank. It just needs a carburetor. It probably needs a air filter too, because if you don't put an air filter on these, what happens, the dust gets in the motor, and what happens is you got to keep adjusting the valves. I don't know how to adjust these valves. You'd have to take that off, all that. but I did get the coil fixed. But what happens is the more you have to adjust the valves up, it's eating into the head, and the dust from no air filter is what makes that happen. As it gets dust in it, it eats out the valves in the head, and if you got to keep adjusting the valves, it needs a new head. In that case, you got to put a jug on it and a head. I don't know. I think you just put a jug on them because it'll be pulling the valve down into the jug. I mean, you keep tinkering with it, eventually you do something right. I mean, you could always weld it. It's aluminum. You could weld it and then cut it and then regrind the valves into the jug, I guess. That's more than I want to do. Okay. Freebie. I got that motor freebie. Whatever. You could put a motorcycle clutch on it if you could find something that would fit onto that, and then have a gear. Make something that you could bolt a gear, a cog up to that right there, and with that motorcycle or that go-kart clutch, it will slip until it engages, and once it engages, it's spinning at full speed. Selectively gear sized, whatever you got to do. You could eventually get it to where, if the power head's any good, key word, if it's any good, the power head, be good shape. It's a Generac. And then to start it with this little thing, it ain't much. I don't know what this camera keeps doing, but it's out of focus. There we go. You can change out this little piece here, and if you change out this piece here, you know, this one's still good, but what happens is this little tick keeps popping out. You know, you'll bust it off a couple times. Obviously, it needs a carburetor. You know, you might get it down pat to where you could do whatever. If the motor's up high and you could take that cover off, it's not a big deal. You got 3 bolts. You can loosen that bracket up, lay that bracket back, leave these bolts long. It's got shims. Take that bolt, that bolt, that bolt, lay that gas tank back loosely with those bolts. Put that cover off and on. Best way of doing it, take that piece off. Take this throat off. It unbolts. Put a different recoil on it. I don't know. It runs counterclockwise, so you'd have to find one that was counterclockwise. I don't know if you turn it the wrong way, maybe it'll throw fuel out the carburetor, or if you can take and just whatever way you're pulling it, it'll start it. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I do know motors will run backwards. All your forward gears will be reverse, and your reverse will be your forward gear. I've seen diesel trucks do it. Something runs backwards, it'll run backwards. All it's got to have is fuel and air. With the manual style motor, that's what that is. It's just got a carburetor. It don't matter what way you turn it. If that magneto can pick up a signal and throw it to the coil, it'll fire. So, don't quote me on that. I don't know. You know, it's spinning the other way, it might push fuel out the carburetor. I don't know. Now, if you was to switch it all around and it came in on the other side, I don't know if that's even possible with that head the way it is, but you could flip it around. You would have to have maybe a different style jug on it. It might have to suck from the other way. I don't know. But whatever it is, we'll start it the way it is and eventually put a different thing on it to where we can get a different style pull start, maybe to be better. And then all we got to do is hook up a pulley or a belt to where you can start the motor and then have a lever to where you can pull the belt into the other pulley so it gets tension and it'll run, hopefully. Just like the snowmo blower that it came off of. You just find a belt. You just got to have a way to put pressure onto that belt like an idler to where it'll engage and put power to. It's got to turn the power head to make power. It's a generator. Power head's just got to have power. It's got to have a pulley, or it'll have to have like a chain and a cog and a clutch off of like a go-kart. It's just got a slip clutch. Once it spins enough, it'll slip enough to where once it locks up, it's full power, and then you can adjust your throttle or whatever from there, if that makes sense. I do know it will work if the power head's good. I've seen the old man do a bunch of stuff like that. He'd cobble something together and, you know, sell it to people when he didn't have money. He was the king at doing stuff like that. I'm not the best at it, okay? But I'm going to try to get something for backup just in case. You know, it don't do no good if you ain't got no gas. But hopefully it's something. And I'm going to try to put this little building together. It's starting to get cold. They say we're going to have a bad winter. Nothing fancy, but we'll have some kind of backup if we can't get that going by then. Or, you know, you run out of gas and obviously you can't use the diesel heater. We'll just take and whatever. We'll have a building with a homemade stove and a couch in it, and hopefully we stay warm. You know, until they get the roads cleared up enough and the power on to whatever. Now, we did go 6 weeks without power there one time. I have a solar panel. I'll be able to charge my phone and charge my tablet. I could sit here and watch my tablet and have the phone hot spotted so I can have TV. I just need a place to stay warm. If I'm out in that building, you know, just a little old shanty, whatever. If you got a hot enough fire in the stove, you're good shape. That's kind of my game plan. It's going to be like 45 tonight, so these videos are running a little behind. I finally got some cutoff wheels so we can start making motor mounts for this motor on the truck. So it's still going to be a dragged out process on that. Getting hoses to fit, getting room, get the motor on some motor mounts, get the pressure on it, and then you can start hooking stuff up. Got to pull the wiring harness all the way out and rewire it and all that. So we don't have to do the brakes for now. But, you know, we need to take a break on it. Kind of getting, you know, pretty sore. You know, my back, it's pretty bad. Kidney, you know, problems. But I got a little carburetor coming for this thing. We're going to try to get this little motor going solid to where I can just rip it a couple times and pull the drill off of it. Let it sit there running idle with a full tank of gas. Run a whole tank of gas out of it. We know it's good. Might be able to just put that side cover back on and, you know, pull it a couple times. It fires right off. Figure out a way to hook a pulley or a chain or a clutch. Maybe a clutch coming down here with a chain. You know, clutch makes sense to me. Clutch, it slips. You know, it ain't going to do nothing until it gets enough fuel. And then the clutches, once it gets up to speed, it'll engage and they lock up and it'll make that power head work. No gas, it don't matter, right? But at least we would have an option if we have no power. You know. Kind of my thinking behind it. It's 2 receptacles. I've got a light in there. I just need a way to run the diesel heater. If it won't run the diesel heater, I don't even care. You got to have a way to have a diesel heater to run it. So we still got to work on the diesel heater. I got to change out the gaskets and make sure we're good on that. Clean the tank, all new lines, fuel filter, whatever it takes to get it ready to bust off. Got to bust it off. You know, we'll have to bust it off and let it run a little bit to make sure it's going to be okay for this year. I think we're going on the 3rd year on the diesel heater. Now that little chamber, you know, for what you pay for that, you can almost buy a brand new heater. So we're going to clean it best we can. We'll complain the whole time. I'm a complainer. I'm a complicated human. Let's just get that straightforward. These videos are just for good old hoots and giggles, and we picked up a sponsor to try to grow some peppers. We dropped the ball on that. Shout out to Atomic Peppers. Appreciated those guys for whatever. They're going to send me out something next year. Gave me some grow equipment. Maybe I get this little building together. We can put up a grow light. We'll have to run out of wire and be able to get some peppers to size to put out for next year. Hopefully. That's saying a lot. But don't get serious. Don't get upset. We move to something else if we're getting hung up on something else. So, wish me luck. I'm going to try to finish putting this power head together now that it's... Dude, it took me like 2-3 days to even figure out how to do that to get it to where I could get it to spin freely. You can grab this shaft here and it's effortlessly. So, right there you can see Spins very, very easily. Now that's the back half of the case of the donor motor. I cut the crank off and used that whole shaft in here to bolt the power head up, and we just got to figure out a way to get something on this piece of the shaft. It's cast, so it can't be welded, okay? They drill a hole in it, you know, I come back here with a whatever, get a pilot hole, drill down in it. Hopefully we can get a bolt down in there to lock it on the shaft, and we'll have a sprocket or a pulley or whatever. This had a pulley, and we already got to start on a pulley system. You just have to have a lever and an idler arm. You just crank it up there to where hopefully it don't turn the motor off, and the motor starts good. It'll engage, and we can turn this power head and make some power with this power head. That's the game plan. So, been working on this for like 3-4 days, okay? I had it running earlier, it busted right off, but you got a prime button. And like I say, it's got a pull start, but it's being complicated. It don't want to run right now. You get it to where you can just pull it one or two times, or one time and choke it and whatever. It might be beautiful. But as of right now, that is a complicated starter. We can change that out if we got one that's pulling left hand or right hand thread, and get either a different style whatever here and a different style whatever there. If we can get it to where it'll pull it and it's easy to pull, if that makes sense. That's what we've been doing for it's calmed down, the heat's out of here, so maybe we can get really cranking on a few of our projects. We got to get this building together just to make sure we got a spot just in case. This is kind of like a backup plan generator. It seems like it's going to be some figuring to whatever. We get the motor going, I give you an update on the motor, carburetor, governor cable. I lost the governor cable, whatever. We get that much figured out, and then, you know, obviously we can move on from wherever we're at. So wish me luck.